Hello everyone. So today I'll be going over some of the things that you'll need to know prior to your departure for your UCEAP study abroad journey to South Korea. A little bit about what you need to know. So I won't cover the UCEAP application process, and I won't cover some of the things that are done during the school year or done prior to the departure process. Mostly I'll be focusing on some of the things that may be harder to access or harder to understand, and I'll be covering them in this video. So I'll be covering housing, specifically how to get on-campus and off-campus housing. I'll also be going over the visa process with you, and then we will also be going over the PCR test and specifically how to get it done prior to your departure. Specifically for housing, if you want to house at the dorms at Yonsei University, you need to make sure to know the deadlines and understand how to apply for the housing on campus. So prior to registration for campus housing, you'll get an email from UCEAP telling you about the deadline. For us, it was around early June when we were able to sign up for the first round of campus housing. During this part, I would recommend you to have your login ready. I would really suggest having it written down. They'll tell you specifically in the email how to prepare your login password and also the login username. So make sure to look at what it says. It may say something like username ID, and it'll give you the ID. So make sure to write that ID down somewhere, and also write down the password just so you have it down and you don't have to think about what's your password when you're actually registering for your housing. There may be a lot of people trying to log on at the same time. So my recommendation is to have your information all ready so you don't have to wait until last minute to really figure out what is your username and your password. Once you log in, it may take a while for it to load, so be patient. If your site crashes due to traffic from the number of people trying to log in, refresh the page and keep trying again. So the important thing is to just be patient. Also try to reload your page if it crashes. Don't worry about it too much. Just try your best, and also just listen to your friends and peers to see what they're doing and how they're handling with the housing registration process. Make sure you have stable internet, and also make sure to click quickly or just read quickly when you're doing it. This is not to make you panic, but it's just when it comes to the registration process, spots can go really fast. So it's important to just read quickly and click on the things that are applicable. So they may ask about whether you want to live in SK Global House or International House. Already have in mind what you want for your housing situation. Do you want a double? Do you want a single? That way, when you're clicking the items in the housing registration, you're not oh wait, which one should I pick? You already know what you have in mind. So make sure to be on top of that and also have stable internet. In the case that there is not enough housing during the first round and the spots go in 10 minutes, so if the spots do go in 10 minutes, don't worry about it. What I would suggest immediately is to contact SK Global House or the Yonsei Housing, specifically about your situation. Just say, hey, I was trying to log into the first round of housing and I actually was not able to get housing for any reason. Is there any potential of being on the wait list, or is there a second round of housing? Luckily for our year specifically, they were able to have second round housing, but it may depend on future years whether they had this or not. So just make sure to check with the Yonsei Housing to make sure. For round 2 housing, it came 2 weeks after the first round of housing. And for this one, same advice for you. Make sure to have everything ready, have all your login information ready, have a stable internet, and also make sure to keep refreshing if the site keeps crashing, and just be patient and hope for the best. So that's really all I can say, and good luck, definitely, good luck. For me, I actually was able to get second round housing, and I was really fortunate to be able to get it. In the case that you're not able to secure on-campus housing, there are no worries. There are definitely a lot of people who are doing off-campus housing. So just make sure, because on-campus housing goes so quickly, always have a backup ready. Have something in mind of like where you want to go in the case that on-campus housing doesn't go through. So in this case, like you can start considering Airbnb. You can also consider a Goshiwon, or maybe consult with other friends and peers about what they're potentially doing for housing off campus. So specifically for wiring money to Yonsei, after you secure housing, you will need to wire money to the university. So there are two ways to do this, and I'll try to like showcase like each way and showcase the pros and cons. So the first way you can do it is through traditional banking. For me and my situation specifically, I used HSBC Bank to wire the money over to Yonsei University, and I would say this process was fairly simple. Yonsei provides all the information for you, and I'll also provide a little bit of information in the description of what I put as information to wire money, but also take note that this may not apply for your year, so just make sure to double check that the wiring information is correct, because you want to make sure your money is going to the university and not some random place. I would say most online services are reliable, but definitely traditional banking, you know for sure that your money is going to the proper bank. This experience with HSBC Bank may actually be different though at other banks, because one of my friends went to Chase Bank and there was not really an efficient way of processing or wiring the money. They actually weren't able to process the money as Korean won. So that's just some of the problems with traditional banks, is that they may not have the services ready for you to wire money. So make sure to double check with your bank before wiring money and see if traditional banking or traditional wiring is good or works for you. Another thing, so if you're doing traditional banking, make sure that you have time for the money to wire over. It may take up to a few days for it to go over, but if in the case that it's not able to go over fast enough, for my year, you could specifically take a screenshot of your wiring transaction and then send it over to Yonsei University so they know the money is coming over. But just make sure to double check with the university during your school year to make sure that they're able to accept it, given that you have a receipt of your transaction. Another alternative to wiring money through a traditional bank would be to use some of the online services that are provided. So Yonsei University suggests using Wise as a platform to transfer your money, and this process is fairly simple. All you have to do is basically wire the money to the Yonsei bank account, and you'll be able to actually see all the transaction fees that are pulled out through your transaction. So it's a really clear process, and you'll be able to get the process done really quickly, and the processing can go up from like 15 minutes up to 1 day, depending on how fast you're processing or what processing service that you select. So Wise is definitely a service I would recommend. You can also use some alternate services as well, such as Zoom, I think. So you can also try Zoom as well. But definitely make sure to take note and just see what the university is saying, and also make sure to check with your peers to also understand the consensus of like what people are doing for wiring their money over to Yonsei University. And that's basically it for housing for Yonsei University. If you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the comments below. Looking forward to definitely talking to you more about the visa application process and also the PCR testing. So see you all soon.